everyone. We're wrapping up week 3 of our annual Taking Action Against Domestic Violence campaign. And this year, we're taking a closer look at the men and women in uniform who work these very dangerous cases. The city of St. Petersburg lost one of its veteran domestic violence officers last year. Officer David Crawford was on the force for 25 years. In a letter to the governor and the attorney general, Officer Crawford was described as revered by peers and advocates alike for his work involving calls of domestic violence. He was described as a man with a talent for calming people in intense situations, someone who was beloved by advocates who saw his compassion with victims firsthand. Officer Crawford was killed in the line of duty on February 21st, 2011, and he was 46 years old. Joining us in the studio with more, we want to welcome Major Michael Kovacev.
Hello, how you doing?
Kovacev, did I say that correctly?
Close enough.
Thank you for coming in. We really appreciate it. Our viewers will get a chance to learn more about Officer Crawford. Tell us about those last few days of his.
Well, in the last few days, as you know, on January 28th, we lost 2 officers. We actually lost 2 officers before Officer Crawford was killed. And he worked that day, and he spent nearly 18 hours working that day until he was relieved, and not knowing that 30 days later, unfortunately, he was going to meet his early demise.
So many folks talked about his devotion and his passion for the DV cases. Why was that? Why was he so passionate about it?
He gravitated to the midnight shift. He spent his entire 25-year career on the midnight shift, and that tends to be a busier time, and he embraced it. He went to classes, he did things of that nature that made him a better officer and made him a better advocate for victims of domestic violence. And going through classes and seeing the telltale signs, he wanted to do the right thing for everybody that he came in contact with.
He said that he talked about the factors that he kept seeing again and again in so many of these cases, like alcoholism and drug addiction.
It's quite common, especially on the midnight shift when everybody else is asleep. He sees he got to see everything that, the best and the worst of society during those hours. The alcohol and drugs, sometimes run hand in hand with abusers and things of that nature. And he really tried to do a better job. And some of the aspects, he just tried to make things better. And digging through his life afterwards, we were able to find so many commendations. And it was 64 to be exact. I was surprised over the 25 years. So many people wanted to give such a positive outlook on how he helped them. And even individuals that were involved in our domestic violence shelters, they approached us on the fact that he had gone there time and time again to just let people know, he was one of the good guys. He was one of the guys that wanted to help people and do the right thing.
The quote that we read at the beginning of the segment was something that you shared in Tallahassee with the governor and attorney general, and then a year later, you went back to Tallahassee, and there was a particular moment that you said was very emotional when they heard about the family and his family and how they are dealing with it.
I wanted to embrace the fact that he was a family man. He had a daughter, and he was married. And one of the quotes that I read at the speech in the following year was, this was a quote that Amanda, his daughter, gave during her father's eulogy after he had passed away. And it said, "I understand my father's sacrifice made him an eternal hero to the city of St. Petersburg, but my dad was my hero. And I knew from what a time, my dad was my hero from the time I knew what a hero was. And I no longer have my Superman." And that touched me in a way, and I made sure that I wrote that down, and I wanted everybody to know that he was a family man, and he wanted to do what was right, and he was the hero of the domestic violence victims. And so many letters that people wrote wanted to give a positive outlook on his life.
Well, thank you for helping us remember him.
Sure.
Thank you. And if you would like to meet more of the officers that we will be showcasing on October the 19th primetime special, please join us at 9 p.m. You'll meet a policewoman and a deputy who survived near-death experiences. They were shot multiple times responding to domestic violence calls. Again, that's right here on ABC Action News on October the 19th.